Okay, this is a contest entry for the TheBuckeyePrepper's 1,000 subscriber contest. I don't usually do a lot of these. I do them here and there. I know I'm going to probably enter this other contest just because I thought the question... Usually when the question is interesting, or if I want to really offer some solid support on a YouTuber, I usually do these. He's a good channel, TheBuckeyePrepper. I don't normally comment that often on his channel, but I do watch a lot of his videos. So it's a good channel, but he came up with a really good question, I thought. And I'm going to be doing a contest myself, and I'm kind of kicking myself. I wish I came up with this. This is a good one. So basically, stop beating around the bush. Who's your favorite founding father and why? My favorite founding father would be George Washington. Man, multitude reasons why. There's a reason why he's called the father of this country. I mean, between his role as the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army to his role of being part of the Constitutional Convention and how he led that, and then his role as president. Place him because of how many defeats he had, and he basically walked in with kind of a ragtag type of army, and it wasn't even an army, it was just a band of individuals from different states, and he had to turn this into a functioning army. That in itself was pretty amazing, going against one of the most powerful militaries at the time. The Battle of Trenton showed incredible leadership, and that's where they crossed the Delaware, and prior to that battle, the enlistments were going to be up very soon, and he gave a speech to his men, which most of them stayed in their enlistments after his petition to them. And that just shows leadership. I mean, it was horrible conditions for these soldiers. I mean, many of them didn't have the proper supplies. They weren't given the proper supplies. They were underfunded, and you know, they weren't really that well paid for what they were going through. Yet he was able to convince these men to stay. And without that happening, then the Battle of Trenton would not have happened. You know, we might not have won. Other things that he had done, I mean, just riding in front to rally the troops during the Battle of Monmouth, and he would ride out in his horse and just rally his troops. I mean, he made himself such a target, and yet he just always put himself in a situation that showed incredible leadership and heroism. And then he actually kept the revolution from falling apart. I mean, soon after they won, the generals of the Continental Army were going to march on Congress, and they were going to basically overthrow the government that they fought for, in a sense. And George Washington showed up in the middle of their meeting, or their plotting, however you want to, and even after giving a speech, it wasn't very well received. Many of the people were kind of annoyed that he was there, but just this one simple act in the middle of this speech that he gives, he's reading a letter from Congress, and at one point his eyes begin to squint, and he stops, pauses, and everyone's looking at him, and he takes out his glasses, and most of the men didn't even know he wore glasses. You know, they look at him as this invincible leader, you know, that survived multiple times of dying and led them to victory. And he just says, "Gentlemen, you will permit me to put on my spectacles, for I have not only grown gray, but almost blind in the service of my country." And many of the men began to cry and felt ashamed for even thinking of attempting of overthrowing the government just at that moment. And I don't know, something about that really, that story has always really moved me. Every single time I've read it or heard about it, it moves me. And these are some of the reasons why. George Washington is just an amazing character, and just reading the biography, I mean, I can go on with many things. Another really amazing thing, and very few people have done this, I mean, he could have been king. I mean, he was so popular that he could have just said, I want to be the king, but instead he gave his sword and his power back to Congress, just gave it up and went back to Mount Vernon. And I don't remember the exact quote, but I know King George at the time said that he knew George Washington was a great man, but if he had heard right, that he gave up his power and walked away from it when he had it all, he could possibly be the greatest man he's ever known. And this was his formidable enemy at the time, that he fought against, paying him a compliment that he might be the greatest man he has ever known. I mean, that's just amazing to me. So that's it for what it's worth. If you don't know or haven't read any biographies of George Washington, I highly recommend it. It's, I think, imperative as an American that you should know. In this day and age where many people are always bashing America and pointing out all these mistakes that the United States always makes, it's good to read about where we came from and read about some of these people, the true leaders, in a day and age where we seem to have no leadership at all. That's what I tend to do now. I don't look at politics anymore. I try to ignore it at this point and do my prepping, and I read about these great men. So, awesome contest. Congratulations, Buckeye, and take care.
General, if you will please place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, George Washington, do solemnly swear.
I, George Washington, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
I will faithfully execute of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States. So help me God.
It is done. God bless George Washington, President of the United States.